Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2009 Audi S5. Up front is a 4.2 liter V8, and down below is a 6-speed manual transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this S5 because it is manual. I've driven the S5 before. I drove it years ago, but it was automatic, and to be honest, I just didn't really fall in love with the car as a whole. And so today, I am remedying that by not only driving it again with a fresh, new perspective, but also with the stick shift. That was the big complaint I got in all the comments. You need to drive the stick, you need to drive the stick, and so I'm doing it here today. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 4.2 liter V8. Well, that is where some of the love and some of the disappointment came. The 4.2 liter V8 got its fame from being placed in the Audi R8, the halo supercar of the era. And so when I drove it with the automatic, I didn't find it to be that crazy. Now, it is slightly detuned. This makes 354 horsepower, which is still great. And it feels a lot more lively. So let's talk about it, that 6-speed manual transmission. It feels wonderful. It's very notchy and very clicky. It's more towards a tuner car than a more traditional German car. German shifters to me are usually pretty off-putting, but not this. This just feels really good. It's precise. It's honorable when it goes into gear, and I really, really like that. So far, the clutch hasn't been too heavy. The shifter has been a really good engagement, and overall, it's so much more of a positive experience than the automatic. And we'll talk more about that towards the end of the video, but the transmission is very, very good. Last but not least, something very interesting is that this does have the Quattro system, meaning it is all-wheel drive. And you might not think that that's anything too crazy, but a manual V8 all-wheel drive coupe, now that's something quite special, and not many other vehicles come into my head when thinking of that. And honestly, right now, I can't think of any other cars with that combination. So that is very cool to drive. How does it feel to drive the Audi S5? Well, the torque from the V8 is wonderful. You just can't mimic it with a V6 supercharger. I'm sorry, you just can't. Getting around, pulling it through the gears is fantastic, but the overall ride quality is okay. It's a little bit stiffer than what you might think a luxury car would have, but again, this is sportier rather than luxury. Visibility is good, and I do like the size of it. The S5 is a little big. I prefer the S4's size just a little bit more, but that's not to say that this is anything bad. You just feel a little bit long in the lane, and that's okay. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 gauges and a screen. Off to the left is my coolant temperature and tachometer, and off to the right is my speedometer and fuel, as well as we do get that customizable screen in the center. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our volume and mode, and off to the right, we have our voice commands and volume, as well as an S5 badge down at the bottom. Off to the left, we have a climate control vent, headlight switch, and fog switch, as well as our gauge dimmer switch. And moving out of the door, we have 2 levels of memory seats, power locks, power windows, and power mirrors. Moving into the center, we do get a little infotainment display. Now, 2009 was pretty early to have a screen in the car. Nowadays, every car has a screen, but it wasn't always the case, and this is one of the first vehicles to get that sort of style. I think it's actually aged really gracefully. The system as well is still easy to use and doesn't look like a children's toy. So, thumbs up here for the 09 S5. Then we do have the hazard switch off to the right, and we have our climate controls and CD changer down below that, and our climate control. So we do get dual zone climate as well as heated seats for the S5. Some nice creature comforts there for sure. Ashtray, cigarette lighter, and then we come in the center. Of course, the shifter is bright-eyed, bushy-tailed right in the middle, Love to see that. I think it looks presentable. It looks more luxurious than, say, a Toyota Tercel in manual. I only say Tercel because one passed me in traffic while filming this video, but you get my point. This does look and feel premium. Off to the left, we have our power parking brake and our start-stop button for the engine. We have buttons for our infotainment like navigation, info, car, setup, name, telephone, CD, aux, AM, and FM, as well as a selector in the center because it is not a touchscreen. You do have to use the scroll wheel for the infotainment, which I personally like, but I know a lot of people don't. Then we do have cup holders, so we'll do a big friggin' bottle test, and what you'll notice is that the front and rear cup holders are actually different sizes. So while the rear cup holder fails, the front cup holder actually does pass here in the Audi S5. Then we get to the center console and the seats. The seats have this sort of Alcantara style to them. I really, really enjoy it. I think they look and feel really good. They're sporty enough. However, they're also not breaking my back or those dumb BMW carbon fiber seats for some weird reason. The carbon fiber buckets have no place in an automobile on the street, and the S5 doesn't try to be anything like that. It's sporty, but still luxury. However, speaking of seats, it's time to cram Zack in the back of an Audi S5. All right, can't believe I'm doing this again, but we're gonna get in the back of the Audi S5. I feel like a cave diver. All right. I'm in the back of the S5 coupe. I do have a cup holder. I have vents and my own cigarette lighter. I also get a center console. Pop open cup holders. There we go. So that's nice, but this is not a place I would like to be. Let's hop into the trunk. Maybe that will be a little bit better. All right, we're on the back of the Audi S5. Button in here, and we do have a traditional trunk. Later, I don't want to call them 5 Series, but like the A5s and stuff, they did come with a sport back option, which would be like an entire rear glass and whatnot. This is just a trunk. Once we are back here, nothing really too crazy to write home about, nothing super exciting, but there it is. That is the rear cargo space of an Audi S5. Now we gotta talk about the looks. And while I don't think that this is the prettiest, most amazing looking Audi or vehicle, I think it has aged incredibly well. Looking at this, it's hard to realize that this is a 16-year-old vehicle styled and designed many years before that. So this design was probably penned up over 20 years ago. And I still think that it looks fantastic in that regard. This looks relatively modern. If this was put on the Audi show floor today, I don't think many people would bat an eye. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving another Audi S5, but this time with the 6-speed manual? Well, let's get the downsides out of the way. One of the biggest downsides of this vehicle is going to be maintenance and reliability. Unfortunately, I've heard a lot of horror stories, and actually, to peel back the curtain, that first Audi S5 that I drove, that was a dealership car. A viewer, similar to yourself, bought that car, and it actually ended up having so many problems that the used dealer he bought it from bought it back. Now, luckily, the dealer was great about it, and they bought it back and fixed the issues and went on its merry way. But the engine went kaput with not that many miles on it. So that is one of the downsides of just buying an older German vehicle, especially a V8 manual all-wheel drive coupe. So keep that in the back of your mind. I just got a check engine light doing that. Was that pull bad? That was maybe... It's gone! It's gone! That was maybe 45 miles an hour. I put it through first and second gear. It flashed the check engine light. Oh, now we have traction control and ABS lights, parking brake malfunction, EPC. Okay, shutting off, door. No lights. Nice. All right, we're back in business, baby. However, driving this now with the stick shift, do I feel different about the S5? Because I gave the S5 not a great review back in the day. The truth of the matter is, this little stick shift here changes everything. It changes everything about the car. Maybe some maturing has happened in the last several years as well. I'm not denying that, but the stick really makes the difference. So let's talk about why. Why does one little piece of the car change so much? Well, first of all, it really unrestricts that 4.2 liter V8. I really felt like the automatic kind of choked the ability of this supercar engine. And so when I get to roll my own gears, I get to be the storyteller. I get to direct my own movie. If I want it to be an action-packed thriller on a Saturday night, I can. If I want it to be a soft romance on a Monday morning, I can. I get that jurisdiction. See, back in high school when I learned how to drive stick shift, the big appeal to it was the fact that I could do something that other people can't. That was my allure. But as I've gotten older, as I've driven so many hundreds of stick shift cars, it's not so much I can do something that you can't. It's I get to control something that others don't. I get to serve on the automotive board. I get to be the chairman of my own destiny. That's why I like the stick shift, and it really unburdens the car from trying to make those decisions. I like the Tiptronic system. The Tiptronic automatic, it's a good system, but it's not my system. It's not the Zacktronic. I like being able to do that. I like having the power. I like having the decision to do this or that. That's what changes. That's why this is so much better than the automatic. And again, it really lets the V8 be itself. It allows the V8 to apply itself in all scenarios. And that is a huge, huge benefit. This is one of those cars that with an automatic, I do think that you get a worse experience. And I'm so happy that I was able to drive a manual to now change my perspective, because I had written off the S5 years and years ago. I said, oh, it's not great. I don't love it. I'd never seek one out. But now with the stick shift, this might go on my list. This is good. It's so good, and it's incredible how much better it gets with this one simple trick. I know that sounded like a pop-up ad that you would see on a website, but I digress. Huge thank you to Marco for letting me borrow his Audi S5 in manual here today. He has been absolutely wonderful to work with. We had to change the date of this shoot 3 or 4 times. So he's been super flexible, and I really appreciate him fitting me into his schedule here today so I can experience the manual Audi S5. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed this car. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.